Alyssa, would you do the honor of introducing Bailey Cypress?
I wanted to introduce Bailey Cypress. In the mid-1980s, she moved to Philadelphia to attend the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. After graduating from the four-year certificate program, she went on to receive her BFA from the University Arts and back to the Academy for her MFA in sculpture. Her first experience with mosaics was as a volunteer at her children's elementary school as an artist in residence program, working with mosaic artist Lisa Levinson. That was the start of a 20-plus year career as an artist in residence, creating mosaic murals and sculptures in over 40 schools in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Her personal public mosaic work can be found in Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Florida, and Switzerland. These are permanent site-specific works in the private, nonprofit, retail, and government collections. Thank you so much, Bailey, for coming to join us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Okay, so the first, I'm going to talk about two projects of mine and then another mosaic artist where I got to see his work. So this project I did, oh gosh, well, the dates are all written down here. The Arc of Philadelphia, they have a tremendous cultural arts center for the clients who were there. And this is a group of people with physical and disabilities, cognitive disabilities. And I did an internship there through a arts and healthcare program that I had taken at Temple. And so I had an internship there, and they invited me to come back and to do a mural with clients in the program, which were about 60 people, and within their foyer. So it's probably about 100 feet worth of mosaics. And the next slide would be fine. So this gives you an idea of how the space is going. I'm like blowing my hands around. You probably can't even see me. The suggested title was The Four Seasons. And those, and the people who were there who were capable of speech, I asked them the questions. So this is the spring where the tree is. And what kind of animals would you find? And so they came up with birds and feral cats and dogs and all sorts of things. And there's a whole ceramics programs there and a kiln. So we had some folks draw animals, some folks who what they could do was pound with a tool on clay to make a texture. And then somebody else could cut it out to the form. And some folks were able to glaze. And you know, some folks aren't. Some are able to tile. And there's actually one woman who has fused fingers and would be able to just use you'd butter the tiles for her, and she could take them on her two thumbs and flip them on the wall. So you have folks of all sorts of different abilities. The wooden part in the tree that's there was found in like a closet and part of the workshop. Everything was repurposed. And we can have another slide. So we'll keep on going. So here's a little bit of a close-up of the cat and the wood. And the folks who weren't capable of tiling but could hold, say, a paintbrush or like a water-soluble crayon, would draw on these pieces of wood. And I take them home and shellac them, then use them as tesserae. So next slide, please. And if I'm talking too fast, just let me know, all right? So this is, example of the tiling and what these objects looked like. And you can see in the middle, somebody drew a little cat face. And that was probably, someone who that's what they enjoy drawing, kitty cat after kitty cat. Next, please. So, whoops. So there's, this project was a 2-year project, and there was volunteers from outside of the organization, consistently volunteers all the time. So here's an example of that. And the guy with the purple shirt on is my older son. So he got roped into this a lot. So next, please. This is an example of winter. And some of those purple glass pieces are transparent glass where I would use metallic paints, and actually the folks there would paint the backs, and we'd use that for color and bring in washers and mirror and things like that. And they designed snowflakes, which would be those black lines. But so next, please. Just like probably in any community ceramics program, there's all sorts of odds and ends that are found, you know, in closets or drawers or things like that. So we start taking everything out and adding it to the wall, you know, people from the past, which of course is complete bear to grout. But there it is, all the textures. Next. Just, you know, more walls, more things that they're tiling, which is great. Next, please.
One question, are you adhering right to the drywall?
Right to the drywall. And I've done that for years too. We haven't had any problems. All right, that's how it is when it's grouted. And there we go. There's more.
What adhesive? People are asking what adhesive.
I really like to use thin set. Just because when you go to grout, it comes off the tiles more easily because mastic starts getting sort of tacky and you have to really scrape it off before you grout. And I always use sanded grout too, because I don't go for the plasticity of the non-sanded grout. And this is actually a video. So if you can.
I don't think it came in as a video, Bailey.
Oh.
That is too bad.
Maybe if you click it once, it might.
Oh, no.
Oh, never mind.
Well,
okay. Well, here's
what would we have seen?
Well, you would have seen these guys learning to break tiles and then going and having a discussion about there's a mosaic project that's going on behind them, and that went to Norris Square, which wasn't through me. It was just, you know, another there's so much going on at the Cultural Arts Center. And it just gives you a real idea of what these folks are like, which they're just fabulous. You know, I loved working with them. Okay, so those are my shoes. I had the opportunity to do a mural in Key West. And this is at the side of this gentleman's house. And his profession is he sinks full-scale ships to make artificial reefs. And this particular ship is called the Vandenberg, and it's the second largest artificial reef from a ship in the world. I'm afraid I don't remember the size right now, but so next would be great. So that is the sketch I gave them, which is hysterical. And, and they specifically asked for a sea turtle and a stingray, and it's an eagle ray. And the concentric circles that are on the building are representing the ship itself, which was, is a World War II transport ship in the Pacific region. And then during the Cold War, it had sonar put on it, and it was used to locate Russian submarines. So when you looked at an actual drawing or a photograph of the ship, if you look down from the top, the sonar looked like concentric circles. So that's how that design came to be. And this particular house to the right, that dark shape in the drawing, is a stream. And it's part of a stream and a canal that bisects Key West. And it turns out that it's basically the nursery for everything that's out in the ocean from beyond. So they're baby barracudas and little sea turtles and just every tiny little thing you can think of starts there before it goes out to sea. Next, please.
One other question.
Oh, sure.
It's okay. Just a very technical question from Ellen. Would you recommend well bond for an indoor mural?
No. And unless you're working on glass,
Okay.
but and sometimes silicone with glass. But then again, when I work with other groups, sometimes it gets too sticky and the silicone gets on top. And I felt like I spent more time taking it off than it took to get on. So I'm a big thin set person, just because I hate to clean, really. So I have a tiny little test kiln in my basement. And so all the tiles I make for these projects run through there. And so I made all these pieces, and I have a pickup truck, and the scaffolding fits in it. And that's what I take when I drive down to places. And I actually used a cookie cutter for the turtle shell, which was fun. Anyway, next, please. And so I was there for almost 3 months, and I stayed in a tent, so I'm there parts of December, January through February in Key West. The coldest it got was 50 degrees. So it was really very, very happy. And next, please. So here's the side of the house. The initial scaffolding we were using wasn't big enough. So we actually constructed this for the length of the project we were working on. It felt a lot safer. And the sun is so bright in Key West too. We ended up putting all sorts of awnings and things just to protect us. I have this turtle design on a piece of paper and just sort of sketched around it. And the shell parts themselves, I had actually used well bond for this. The shell tiles onto window screening, and then have a bed of thin set on the wall and sink that in. Next. All right, so you get an idea of the scale. And this is in the center of Key West. It's a residential district, and they don't have any public art. And there just happens to be a bike bridge that goes across that canal area that's to the right of the house. So I would talk to 60 to 100 people a day, and I ended up becoming like a tourist destination. There's the woman putting things on the wall, and everybody's so excited because there's public art in their community, their neighborhood, because they really felt like they were left out of that kind of experience where this community was. So my good friend, Julie Deary, who is in the chartreuse shirt right there, she and her husband came down and stayed for 2 weeks. They parked behind the house and helped tile, which was great. The fellow with the big beard, his name is Tortuga Jack, and he's a resident poet in Key West, and also a tour guide. And he just loved the project, said, "Can I help?" Brought his wife, who's an artist, and they were there every day because they liked the project. I'd have school children come by, and I'd say, "Hey, do you want to put a tile up?" And really, anybody who walks by, because I'm very generous with something like this, here, give this a try. And so that's what we did there. Next, please. And let me know if I'm too fast, because I feel like I'm rattling along. So in the Keys, hurricanes are a really big deal. So I went out and got some hurricane shutters to fit on here because, once a hurricane hits, it's nice to know that the mosaic can be fitted around it. And I was so enamored with the stainless steel, coming from Philadelphia. But what happened is, as soon as that went up, people in the community were like, "What's going on? What's going on with the weather? Is there a hurricane? Is there a storm coming?" So, which, that was never my experience. So it really struck me. Next, please. All right. So you get a sense of what's going on for putting this up. And one of the kids, this particular little boy, he actually developed leukemia and passed away a year later. And his mom, whom, so many people are coming that I really don't know folks' names. I'm sure you guys who do this, with large groups of people, his mom came up to me a couple years later when I was down visiting, saying that how much that meant to her, that she knew exactly where he had tiled. And that was part of this building that would be there. Yeah, so next, please. And here's the turtle. And I enjoy using different kinds of metallic glass. I too go to Rainbow Glass and like to buy, all the remnants. And it's, glass by the pound. What could be better? Next, please. Okay, so the mother and child to your left on the bottom, in the Florida Keys, you have a lot of Cuban refugees, and there's a program, wet foot, dry foot. And if you get 1 foot on land, you can stay. And they had arrived in the months that I was there, which was extraordinary. And the poet Jack and his wife Suzanne, while I was there, there was a program to have a sailing race to Cuba that actually came through fruition with Joe Biden helping out to have it passed. And it's the first athletic event in Cuban-American relations for, I think, 50 years. So I got to go to these meetings for, this trip to Cuba. And it was a race of 16-foot Hobie cats. And then they had sloops and power boats and schooners and all sorts of things that went along. I just thought it sounded like the most fantastic journey. So next, please. So, and that was called the Havana Challenge. They redid it the following year, and I got to go. And it was a really extraordinary experience. So next. And I brought my son with me. There we are in Cuba. And outside of Havana, there's an artist by the name of Jose Fuster. And he and Isaiah Zagar have a very similar thing going on. And so I brought a lot of slides from there to show you guys from my visit. And Suzanne, if you just want to slowly go through them, I don't really have, much to say other than it was a phenomenal place to visit, and it revitalized the entire community, much in the way that Mural Arts did. And you can see the, and I think both Isaiah, actually I'm still talking, aren't I? Both Isaiah and Fuster went to Barcelona, so you can see the influence of the Gaudi kind of experience, but also Miro and Picasso. And it's really just fantastic. So Cuba opens up again. I highly, highly recommend it. Just beautiful. Okay.
Wow.
I think, did I go fast enough? Because I know.
Yeah, no, you did great. Thank you, Bailey. Do you guys have any questions or comments for Bailey? And I'll can do it in the chat or just unmute yourself.
Bailey, if we ever wanted to go visit the mural in Key West, could you help us locate it?
Sure. Yeah. I think I actually put the address on the slide.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I think that's right. Yeah.
And I just want to say hey to Bailey. Bailey, it's Raphael. Haven't
Hey,
seen you in a long
Raphael.
time, but
How you doing?
I'm good. It's good to see your presentation.
Oh, it was great to see Ellen. It's good to see you. Now I know how to get, things moved from point A to point B.
There you go. There you go.
We were friends and classmates at school.
Oh, wow.
Napa, back in the old days.
We have a couple of questions coming through. One is, was this, okay, so a couple of questions. One is, were these pictures from all over Cuba, or I guess, Kathleen, I think what you're saying is, was it like this all over Cuba? Is that what you're asking, Kathleen?
No, I wanted to know if all the installations that we've seen on the slides were all over Havana.
No,
Havana.
it's all one place.
Okay.
It's a neighborhood that's outside of Havana, where he has his studio. And just think about Isaiah, with the Eyes Gallery, sort of started at one place and slowly grew out, further and further forward. And, it's very intense poverty, but because of the art, they started having people come in, and galleries and restaurants, and it's just really phenomenal what they did. And I just love it. If you guys can get there, you got to see it.
A couple other questions. Did you make the turtle hexagons from clay?
Yes.
Mhm.
I use stoneware all the time. And
Okay.
and the mural's been fine through these hurricanes, which is always good to hear.
Yeah.
But also because I was down there in public doing that work, I was invited to apply for an art in public places registry. So I get the initial calls for any kind of public art in Monroe County for the Florida Keys, which I've done other work for.
Cool.
So I think one of the things we're talking about is how one project leads into another,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, there's another question, and
where in Switzerland were you?
It's about an hour outside of Basel, and it's a village called Cypress. And there's some artists live in the village that started a linear sculpture garden that's 3 miles long. And they invite sculptors from all over the world, usually 2 a year. And it's a 6-week residency. You stay there, and there's a like the city or the village dump, and you go there and you pick out your materials. And this was in 2001, and I had just learned how to do mosaics from my kids' school. And because I always thought that would be a great skin for sculpture, to have, add color and a bit of a dynamic sheen to things as well. So this area in Switzerland, there are Roman ruins around there. There's actual iron ore in the earth that if you just go by the farm, the fields, you can see these little pellets. So the sense of history is really incredible for anybody from North America here. And so at the dump, I saw these sewer water pipes, which looked like Roman columns in my mind. So I felt like I was arranging, I want the sofa over here. It's just sort of point to these massive things, and there's a forklift that brings them to where I was working. And so there are these 2 columns and one that's fallen over. That's part of this, I guess like a sculpture park. So, and so, wonderful place, amazing food.
How do you spell that? Cypress.
SEPRAIS.
Ooh, spell it again.
SEPRAIS. RAIS,
All right.
and
Great.
it's called a balade, which means a walk.
Oh.
And I think I'm the only American.
Cool.
And I got that opportunity because someone from that little village happened to be at the academy looking at a show. I mean, at PAFA. Sorry, I can't get used to that. And they liked the work I had and contacted me. So it's
That's
really,
cool.
serendipity, I think, is the word when it's doing public art.
Could we go back to the images of Bailey's work? I really admired the texture on the
The turtle?
not the turtle, the other creature. It was black and white.
Oh, the ray.
The ray.
Was that
beautiful?
where? Okay, so maybe that is.
Oh, there's a
Yeah.
little boy.
There we go. There we
Wow.
go. Up
And
there.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with that. I really like how that looks. So you said you created handmade tiles for that?
Yeah, like all the little circles and things are handmade tiles. And then I had a load of iridescent black and purple ones mixed in with ceramic, because since there's no freeze thaw, I could have ceramic tiles as well.
And you shipped that all down there?
I drove it all down.
Okay. That's a big project.
It was fun though. But
Very nice.
yeah, it's about 40, it's 20 by 40,
Wow.
those range.
The little fish that run through the concentric circles, they're quite beautiful too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I met some amazing people. I was very happy. And I find though, anywhere you are and you're sitting on the street, people come up and talk and make these relationships. So it's been my experience everywhere, which is great.
We're being asked, where do you live?
Oh, Bala Cynwyd. So right outside Philadelphia.
All right. Well, I know a couple of you are feeling like you need to leave, and in fact, we are at our end point, but I do want to just bring us back. Thank you so much, Bailey.
Oh, you're
Really
welcome.
limiting
Thank
that
you.
Zoom page.